I'm Scott Allen Miller. It is the 7th of September 2022, and this is my vlog of daily life in Nicaragua. Welcome to the show. It is Wednesday, I'm pretty sure, yes, and I have, for all intents and purposes, I have gotten better from my bout with what we believe is dengue, but we don't actually know for absolutely sure. But it was a rough day, and I was still a little bit under the weather this morning, but for the most part feeling better, and by the end of the day, really just back to normal, which plays into roughly what would be expected from an extreme mild case of dengue. I'm recording tomorrow and there is a storm rolling in, so I'm going to spin around just a little bit here. See, so this is looking south and it's relatively clear, and you're going to see when I go down another street how dark it is, but then if you look north, it's pretty dark up there, and we've got this storm has just been coming in the last few minutes, and if you watch my short that was recorded tomorrow, oh my gosh, it's hard to keep these straight. I show some of the sky just before I record this, if you wanted to see that moments before. This is recorded. Anyway, oh, I'm watching a dog almost get hit. My gosh. So I've seen very few animals get hit since I've been here, but I've seen so many almost get hit and so many broken feet. It is incredibly sad. Oh, and here's a dog that almost got hit by me, and I just tripped over a dog. At least that didn't hurt him. And so today I took it easy. I spent the day in the office. I was pretty much just relaxing. I did a tiny bit of walking around to do recording, but really it was a day to just hang out and basically do nothing, because I didn't want to risk getting sick again or having anything come back. I didn't want to go anywhere and then realize I was going to be sick and have any problems, but I didn't have any problems. But just in case, I took it really, really easy. Plus I have a ton of catch up to do. Oh my gosh, the same dog inches away from 2 motorcycles in 2 minutes. So I just didn't want to take any risks. So I spent the day pretty much in the office and doing a ton of catch up, because obviously super far behind because of the weekend and yesterday being a sick day. But overall, it was a very good day, and no particular news because of just working all day. The one thing that happened tonight is that while I was still working in the office, so it was not super late, we had a surprise storm just roll in out of nowhere. Couldn't see it coming at all, and the dark clouds just popped over us. And we had, and I've been saying that we've had all this lightning for days and days and days and no rain. Well, we made up for it today. The rainstorm was intense, and it went like most of the night. Probably started, I'm guessing, like 7 o'clock, and it went until, I don't even know, 4 o'clock in the morning. It was nuts, and like really intense lightning and rain right over top of us. We took out the power several times, but only for, 15 seconds, because it's hitting the lines, right? It's actually blowing out the power, and we're recovering really quickly. We're constantly getting hit. Oh, that's a doggy at the vet's office. I don't know if you can see him, but there's always a barking dog in the window of the vet's office there. So I'm going to turn the corner and head west, and then you're going to be able to see this sky behind me and get a feel for what's going on as I walk. So that was the day. My topic today, because I really don't have anything to report. There's a dog in the street up there. I'm really hoping that he is just rolling around on his back, itching his back. Man, dogs in the street stress me out so much. Yeah, he looks like he's fine. I'm so used to, if there's a dog in the street in the United States, it's something terrible has happened. And here, they hang out in the street and itch their back on the road, being idiots. And then at the last second, jump up and run away. Normally, yep, yeah, he got up. He's totally cool. No problem at all. He was just hanging out, trying to make me stressed. That's all he was doing. Okay, so my topic for the day, I've had a number of people say this a lot in the comments. People have said it to me on the street. It comes up all the time, and that is that people are really worried about me and my safety when I'm out doing this filming or out just walking in general. And I want to touch on that a bit, because I do think it's a really important topic, and it needs to have some context. And so I want to make sure that people understand a number of things. One, some basic background. I am a large, single, middle-aged man. I am not a target demographic for dangerous things to happen in a street anywhere at any time. So that automatically gives me a certain advantage over a lot of people who may be walking in the streets. I am also walking in situations where I am generally well prepared, right? Like right now when I'm walking with my camera, yes, I have a camera that makes me a little bit vulnerable, but I am not carrying any money. I'm not carrying a phone. I'm not carrying an expensive watch. I have the camera that you see on there. I have a cheap, many-year-old, designed to be ripped off and stolen, unimportant watch. I mean, it's nice, I like it, but it's not very expensive or special. It's meant to be beat up and not be a big deal if something bad was to happen to it, which is why nothing ever happens to it, of course. And I have my house keys. And that is it. I have nothing worth taking, so I don't have a lot of extra risk. I know that the camera could be snatched out of my hand. That is a risk I am willing to take. I have to take in order to make these videos as an accepted risk. That's kind of the starting point. You have to understand these things about my physical condition when I'm walking. And remember that I'm not doing this completely casually. I haven't just stepped out of the house without thinking. They're moving. And I have planned and carefully set up my situation to be safer than you may expect, or more than you may perceive. Then you also have to keep in mind, everyone feels that places have a certain level of danger, but this really is a safe country, incredibly safe. The fear that a lot of people, when I actually press them on what are you actually thinking will happen, they're often like, well, they could steal your camera. Like, okay, that's not what we call risk in America, right? In America, we're worried that someone's going to stab you or shoot you, right? And that's still not very likely, but that's what we're worried about. Not that someone's gonna snatch your camera. That's not really considered a risk. That's just, oh, well, you held the camera out of the window, right? When I'm in Managua, people will be like, roll up the window, roll up the window. I'll be like, what do you think's gonna happen? They're like, they'll steal your stuff. I'm like, I'm holding an apple. Right? Like, if someone has to reach in the window of the car to steal my apple, he can have it, right? You have to kind of gauge what this danger is that people perceive. And yes, it's a real danger. It's important to note. It's important to be aware. Yes, someone could steal my apple. Okay, mental note. Don't hold it out the window if I'm really hungry, but seriously, no one's ever tried to steal my food or anything else from inside a window, and I never bother rolling them down. I don't hold my phone to the edge of the window. That would be rather foolish, I think, but within reason, I take reasonable precautions and leave my windows open, right? That's just... So, that was danger. So there's this understanding of context. And a lot of the neighborhoods that I'm walking through, while they may, and this is why I touched on the other day, this perception of a new place, often it may look like, wow, is that a dangerous neighborhood? No, none of these are dangerous neighborhoods that I'm walking through. Some get a little bit more sketchy than others, but the range is actually pretty small. They are all relatively safe. And some of the least safe ones are actually the ones that look the best. For example, if I go through El Centro, that's probably where I would carry the highest risk, not the lowest, even though it looks quite the opposite. I'm gonna spin the camera around a little bit here because I'm coming through a really neat area at the top, at the northwest of Laborio. And there's some really beautiful homes up here, and I'm coming up on a park where I record a lot, so a lot of my audience will recognize where I am, but about half a block off from where I normally film, so you may not recognize the buildings. Like, these are some seriously beautiful homes along here. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. Oh, look at this cute dog. And this is the Parque de los Indios here, and that is the beginning of Sutiava right there. So that is 8th Avenue that we're looking at. And I'm going to turn on that in just a minute. So most of these neighborhoods, like this neighborhood I'm in right now, is incredibly safe. This is Laborio, and I'm about to go into Sutiava. I think most people would say Sutiava is slightly less safe than Laborio, but marginally so. It is still a very safe area. Also note, when you're saying that it's dangerous for me to be out here, you're talking about a place where all the people you see are also out on the street. There are families sitting out on the sidewalk. There are children walking by. There are dogs playing in the street. Okay, people are not mugging dogs, obviously. There are, but there are elderly folks wandering around. There are people doing their shopping. There are normal people everywhere. There are no sketchy people. There are lots of normal people of all types, from small children to teenagers, to young adults and families and elderly, working people, people who are staying home. There are shops nearly everywhere. There's constant traffic. Now, if people said the danger is that I'm an oblivious foreigner and I'm really bad with traffic and I'm gonna walk in front of a moving car because I'm stupid, that's a legitimate concern and could totally happen right now, in fact, while trying to cross the street to film this video. But that's a different type of thing. That is a I'm not very safe rather than the place is not very safe. So that is an important way to look at things, right? These are real neighborhoods, and we don't worry about the safety of all these other people. We should not be worrying about the safety of me unless someone has a very specific concern about which I do not know. Then there is the idea of experience. I walk cities not only all over Nicaragua, but all over the world. I have walked often in the middle of the night, all over Europe, over much of Latin America, over much of North America, and cities in North America legitimately are far more dangerous in general than those in Latin America or Europe. And we don't get those same warnings doing these things in North America. Why not? Maybe because of the way it looks, maybe because we're conditioned not to mention how dangerous it is, maybe because it's really not that dangerous and we only perceive that it's more dangerous here. I don't know. So all of those things come together. I am experienced. I am not a high profile target. I am in very safe places that other people are already out and about at nearly all the same times as me. There are loads of businesses and traffic and other things observing, and I am well prepared for the scenario. Putting all these things together, my actual risk is very low. Then we need to look at why I do this. There's two main reasons. One is I am a walker. I am a city walker. This is one of the things I love doing. I will not be happy if I don't have the ability to go out and walk and explore. This is how I get my exercise, my fresh air. And so this is very important to me, whether or not I am making videos for you. Now, it is true, if I was not carrying a camera, I can walk faster, I can be more alert, and I am much less of a target. I would also not be speaking loudly to myself in the middle of the street. I draw a lot of attention to myself. Not just carrying a camera, that draws a bit of attention, but when I'm carrying a camera and speaking to myself as I am right now, and when I'm talking about it especially, I become very self-conscious, but normally I'm used to it and I don't think about it too much. And a lot of the people on the street do know who I am, and they know that I'm filming out here, and so they don't think too much of it either. But when I go into new neighborhoods, I certainly get a lot of attention. And everyone knows that I'm there and what I'm doing, and everybody's looking at me, so that makes it a little bit harder. So if I wasn't filming, yes, it would definitely up my safety and lower my profile, certainly. But this is something that's very important to me as simply a form of exercise and an opportunity to explore a space that I live in. I'm trying to decide where I want to walk from here and how to get down from the elevated sidewalk. And I'm wearing, as you saw, sunglasses that I don't wear all that often, and they give me a distorted view of the ground, which makes it very dangerous for me to step down because I fall all the time. Okay, and then lastly, my second point of why I do this, I think it's very important to bring awareness to these neighborhoods and these barrios, these regions, and expose how safe they are. And so while, yes, I'm acknowledging that there is risk, there's risk anywhere, walking any city alone, especially one where you don't know everybody, you don't have, some of the advantages of it being your local neighborhood. Of course, there are dangers, but I'm also exposing that I do this every day all over the country, in other countries, and have absolutely zero problems. There's very low risk. I don't do this being concerned about where I'm going to end up. I don't worry that it's going to get dark. I don't worry who I'm going to run into. I am able to do this because these are real living neighborhoods where real nice people live and work every day. And you can feel very confident being in these places, living in these places, visiting these places. And I want to be able to bring these stories, these places, these people to everyone. Hola! And I can't do that if I live in fear that going out and walking the streets is going to result in something bad. And it's not a realistic fear. And I totally appreciate the amount of concern that people have for me. I appreciate that people are trying to look out for me. Legitimately, people think that I'm an idiot, and that's probably true. They probably think that I'm reckless, and that's probably true. All those things are fine, and it does mean a lot to me that people take the time to be like, you're being an idiot, you may not want to do these things. I don't think you've thought through how dangerous this is, because it's one thing to do it once, it's another thing to make it your everyday life. But I think it's something that I do that's very important. It has a real value. I don't see other people going out and filming these barrios. I am in Sutiava, in case you're wondering. I'm not 100% sure which street this is. I think I'm on 9th Avenue, heading south. I know I'm heading south. I know it's Sutiava, but I think it's 9th. And it must be, because I'm looking at 8th to the left. And so because there's such an important value, I think, to doing this, and as we have an increasing number of people who watch, we're getting the news out, we're getting the message out of what life is really like. And in the most case, it's here in Nicaragua, but it's also been in Guatemala and soon in Costa Rica, and I hope to visit lots of more places. And in doing so, there is so much, hi doggy, a lot of times trash is left out on the street specifically so that the dogs can go through it. There's actually an effort made in a lot of cases, and we even have designated spots. I'm going to do a video specifically about this at some point, about hola, about how we feed dogs in the streets, because we have so many street dogs and we have like this communal dog culture, and so there's like a lot of different layers to the animals here, and to some degree there are wild animals that live on the street, but there's also like these communal animals that do live on the street but sometimes in homes, and I'm going to try to bring some of their stories to you as well. This is a cute little setup here for this pharmacy, but that's just the food on the street for the dogs is something that is interesting. So that's kind of my story as to why I am insistent on taking a camera, heading out into communities that no one else is filming, and putting in this effort to show you what life is like. One, because I want to see it. If I wasn't filming this for you, I would probably not go to some of the places that I go, right? It would not be worth the effort. I wouldn't take the time to research where I need to go and where I don't. This is definitely a water main broke here while they are repairing the street. I showed this just the other day. They've done a whole bunch more work. They must be putting in a water line down there. Oh yeah, you can see there's a new water line going in. Adios. There's a lot of crew out here. They definitely want to get done before that storm hits, or it's going to be a mess. Hoping that my camera's catching this. All right, I am going to head back because this is definitely not a road. I want to try to go down and get in their way. You can see that storm is really coming in. We're going to have a bit of rain really soon. But there's so many of these neighborhoods. There is nobody recording this except for me. I can't go on YouTube and search Sutiava and find other people walking the streets. And I know not a lot of people are looking for that, but some of us are. And for those who are looking to discover whether it's a specific neighborhood they want to research, or they simply want to learn about what real life is like in different places, I think that the media gives us so little view into that. And I don't mean the big media, I don't mean an intentional fabrication or lack of viewing. I'm saying that even if you were to look at the most popular places in the world, nobody looks at real life because it's boring to a lot of viewers, right? If you're, hola, adios. If you simply show what I'm showing, everyday life in different places, people tend to be like, well, that's not very sensational. I want to see, big attractions. I want to see amazing views. I want to see human tragedy or whatever. They got to see something that's going to grab headlines, and I understand that. And so media, whether it's big media or just YouTube channels, are going to lean towards the sensational because it's what gets followers, of course. But there are people who want to see more, and there is a need to understand and have access to what life actually looks like places. And that is why I make such an effort to do this, because it's something that none of us have access to. I always wanted to see more or less exactly this kind of footage, maybe better done than I do, when I was doing research on new places, whether to live or visit or whatever. And I was never able to find, for example, here in Nicaragua, the biggest settlement or the biggest tourist location is San Juan del Sur. And I remember just a couple years ago doing a lot of research on San Juan del Sur because we were trying to buy houses there. We could not find street level views of some of the places we were looking at, and they were waterfront. They were some of the most main thoroughfare spots in the town, and yet there was not a single video on YouTube or elsewhere that showed some of these key locations. You didn't know what the area looked like. You didn't know what life was like there. There was just nothing. And so something as simple as walking through with a camera would make all the difference. And there are some people who do some walk-arounds in the middle of some major cities. I've seen some people who walk around Rivas, which is not a very popular city, but all they do is walk one street in the middle of the city. And so if you're not looking for that one street, and downtown, it doesn't do you any good. And nobody lives on that street. It's a street with a park. Sure, it's nice to see the park. It's nice to see the cathedral. And I want to show those things too. But there's a whole large volume of real life that is missing from a lot of media. And that's where humans connect, right? When we're looking at the lives of other people in other places, so often we're shown war-torn Syria, and we're shown resort Spain, and we have no idea what does a normal house, what does a normal neighborhood in Spain look like? What is a normal house? What does a normal neighborhood in Syria look like? Oh, they're surprisingly similar, right? They're not that similar, but they're far more similar than you would think, because we never get shown the everyday life. We don't get shown the normal people. And that's where I think there's this important bond and important information to be had in seeing how real people live. And that's what I want to bring to you. So that is why I put in a bunch of effort considering what is and isn't safe, trying to be safer than I would be if I took no effort at all, and thinking logically and being realistic that I am incredibly safe in what I do. This is not a dangerous activity. I do a lot of it, but I do so very carefully, and I intentionally take this risk because I think it creates an important value that is worth what tiny risk there is. I think it's a large value and a very tiny risk. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you want to sponsor the channel, that would mean a lot to me. You can buy me a coffee, which is a link down in the description. You just give a few dollars, you just click, and it takes you through a little thing, and that goes right to me. And I'm gonna try not to get run over here as I wrap up for the day. I'm gonna wrap up before I actually cross the street. Put your comments down below, leave your questions, like and subscribe, and I will see all of you tomorrow.